Everybody ready? Police Chief Jane Castor and Mayor Iorio. We just want to give you a brief update on our search for Dontae Morris. We are receiving active leads, and we are following up on those leads. We've just got a number of different avenues. As I have said all along, what we are doing is just basically tightening the loop on him. We have his family members we've been in contact with, associates, friends, anybody that he has been in contact with, places that he frequents, and that extends beyond the Tampa Bay area. And in essence, we are trying to plug any possible escape routes that he could have and then just track him down until we can take him into custody. And also, as I have said before, it's in the best interest of Dontae Morris to give himself up, to call the police department and put an end to this right now. The reward is up to $95,000. We have received, the awards have been put forth by the FBI, U.S. Marshals, FDLE, Crime Stoppers, the FOP, state FOP, and the Police Defense Fund. The $95,000 is the largest reward that has ever been offered in the death of a police officer, and it is expected to go above $100,000. And I think that that speaks to not only the community that we live in, but the relationship between the police department and the community. I think that this tragedy goes way beyond the Tampa Police Department and into the community as well. And we have just had such an outpouring of support. And I can tell you, on behalf of Dave Curtis and Jeff Kokab's families, that they appreciate it. And I can also tell you that the men and women of the Tampa Police Department deeply appreciate all of the support that we have received from the community. Now I'll answer any questions that anyone may have.
Your confidence that Dontae Morris is still in the Bay Area?
I can say that we're confident. As I have said, we're not 100% certain that he is. So we're covering every possible avenue that we can, and that extends into other cities in Florida and then other locations nationwide as well. We want to ensure that we've got every possible avenue covered.
Chief, can you please explain for the layman out there why Courtney Brantley was released overnight?
Well, we talked to Courtney Brantley for 7 hours. She was interviewed. And as I have stated, we have received information from her, but I would not describe her as cooperative. There is still a very, very distinct possibility that she's going to be charged down the road. But the officers the investigating detectives don't want to rush this investigation. Our goal, 100% focus, is on taking Dontae Morris into custody. And we can worry about the charges on Courtney down the road. She still has contacts out there in the community, and we're working on that as well.
Was there not enough to hold her on for now? Or?
There was enough. We had the possibility we could have charged her last evening, but the decision was made for the good of the investigation and the focus on taking Dontae Morris into custody to release her last night.
Can you understand how it's so difficult for people to understand?
Excuse me?
I mean, can you understand?
Yes, I can understand that completely for anyone that's not involved, entrenched in this investigation. I can understand that as well. You have the driver of a vehicle in which the suspect killed 2 police officers. Why would she be out on the street? And I understand that from the public, that level of frustration. But my response to that would be that the community needs to trust in the ability of the Tampa Police Department, and our goal is to arrest Dontae Morris, and that's going to happen.
You have eyes on her now?
We have eyes on a lot of people out in the community.
Chief, is it a calculated risk to let her go, given the fact that Dontae has disappeared?
No.
She might do the same?
No, I don't think that it's a risk. There's a risk in everything. The risk in that is very minimal.
As the only witness to the crime, would she be in any danger from Mr. Morris?
That's not our. We wouldn't. If that was necessary, if we felt that protective custody was necessary, we would have gone down that road. We don't feel that that's a necessity at this time.
Do you think they might reach out to each other?
I don't know.
Chief, yesterday, Dontae's family, through their pastor, released a statement offering their condolences to his family. How would you describe his family? Have they been cooperative and helpful in assisting?
Yes, and I haven't spoken to their family. I actually spoke to the pastor yesterday, and that's what I conveyed to him, and actually he conveyed to me as well, is that is their goal, is to have Dontae Morris give himself up. Unfortunately, they don't know where he's at this time.
Chief, on that line, though, they said we would like him to have the opportunity to turn himself in, which some people have taken that to believe that the police are not going to give him that opportunity to give himself up. Can you address that?
That possibility has been raised, but here's what I will tell you emphatically, is that the men and women of the Tampa Police Department are professionals, and we're going to take him into custody safely. And how that's done is determined by Dontae Morris. We arrested a heavily armed individual in the shooting death of Mike Roberts, and he was taken into custody safely.
Can you talk more about the relationship between Courtney and Dontae?
No. She obviously knows him, but I don't know the intimate details of it.
Given his extensive criminal history, any thoughts on the fact that he was out of prison and on the street after what he's done in the past?
That's been brought up before, but frankly, we can look at that after the fact. After he's sitting in jail, we can go back and dissect his criminal history and his travels through the judicial system. But again, right now, all of my thoughts and all of the thoughts of the men and women of the police department are on catching him.
You said you could have charged Courtney Brantley last night. What would you charge her with?
I'm not going to go into exactly what we could charge her with, but there is a possibility down the road that she would be charged, and the charges more than likely will be more substantial than what she would have been charged with last evening.
Did she interact with the officers in any way?
Sure. They talked for 7 hours.
No, with the two fallen
Oh, the two fallen officers. Yes, it was a traffic stop, and she gave her identification and a vehicle registration that didn't match the vehicle. So, yes, she did.
What are your policies and procedures for these types of traffic stops? At this point, is it your belief that everything was followed?
Yes. Officer Curtis and Officer Kokab followed every officer safety protocol. They did exactly what they've been trained to do, and in some cases, an officer would have tried to take Dontae Morris into custody by themselves. He had a misdemeanor warrant for worthless checks. No reason to raise your level of suspicion, but he did the right thing, called for a backup. Jeff Kokab came by the scene. Both officers tried to take what they thought was a misdemeanor violator into custody, and it turned into a tragedy.
Why was he out of the car? Can you speak to why the suspect got out of the car?
They were placing him under arrest at that point, so they had asked him to exit the vehicle so that they could put handcuffs on him.
And that's when he...
Yes.
Chief, can you talk about the dash cam video? Because there have been rumors about what it shows, what it doesn't show.
No, we're not going to discuss. We're not going to discuss any potential videos.
Does it exist, though?
I'm not going to confirm that at this point.
Did you talk to the family of the officers this morning? Can we talk about the families today?
No, I haven't talked to the families this morning. No, I have not. The last time I talked to them was about 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and the family members have come in. They've from throughout the United States. Jeff Kokab had family in Michigan who have come in, and Dave had family from throughout Florida and in Kentucky that have come in. So they're all here. They were all at the hospital yesterday, and we're taking care of them. Tampa police officer will be with every family member from this point forward. Any word on funeral? We're still working with the families on those arrangements, and the arrangements will be dictated by the family wishes.
Chief, have you increased the resources from yesterday to today for the?
No, we still have the same amount of resources. We had yesterday. We had no less than 200 officers involved, from local, state, federal agencies, and that's still the case now. And it's a very well-run investigation. It's a unified command with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and the Tampa Police Department. and every lead that comes in is vetted and then assigned to be followed through.
Obviously, he had a warrant for his arrest for a misdemeanor charge. You mentioned previously that there might be issues extending beyond that. Have you guys been able to determine at this point if there were any other charges or any other things against him, or why he might have done what he might do?
That investigation is continuing. I'm not going to release at this time any information on any potential further or future charges that he may face, but anyone with common sense would think that someone with a misdemeanor worthless check warrant would not shoot 2 police officers in cold blood.
And Chief, unless I have the chronology wrong, wasn't that warrant issued while he was still in prison?
Yes, that warrant was issued while he was still in prison.
And isn't there an obvious question, how
Yes.
does he get out of prison and back on the street without resolving a warrant?
Yes, that's something, again, that once we take him into custody, we're going to look into that further. That should have been detected while he was in prison and handled at that time.
On the release of Courtney, Chief, just to clarify, this was a decision by your detectives, not by the state attorney's office.
We've been working very closely with the state attorney's office, so it was a decision made in conference with the state attorney's office. The state attorney's office has been an integral part of this investigation. We've served search warrants and had arrest warrants signed and everything else, so they're a very integral part of this investigation.
But you did indicate you had enough probable cause to charge her, just chose not.
That's correct.
There was discussion of Vice President Biden was in town yesterday, his office contacting your office to confirm that.
Yes. He was in town yesterday, and they did call to offer their condolences to the men and women of the Tampa Police Department and obviously the families of our officers.
Is there an effort to set up a face-to-face meeting or anything like that?
No, that's dictated by the family, and the family is still reeling from this tragedy.
Chief, when they pulled over the car last night, can you talk about did the car immediately pull over? And then secondly, when they did initiate that contact, did not the priors of Dontae show up on the computer?
Well, that information is available. First, let me address the traffic stop. It was what we call a routine traffic stop. And, that's where these things occur, from routine traffic stops. And the car did pull over, and the driver was cooperative. The passenger was cooperative. I mean, he gave his lawful name, which, again, makes little sense. And it came up that he did have this misdemeanor warrant on him. The officers do have the ability to sit down in their car and run what we call a criminal history on someone. That's not a routine procedure. You have to, if you find out that someone has a warrant on them, obviously your first course of action is to take them into custody. Then you can go back and do research. You go and sit in your car and research that individual, you've lost some valuable time.
What thoughts, if any, has the department given to changing the way they handle these or any kind of traffic stops?
There was nothing that could have. The officers did exactly what they're supposed to do as far as officer safety. There were no corners cut. There's nothing that they could have done that would have changed the outcome of this particular incident.
Have you been able to assess yet what happened in that instant where, despite the rule book?
Yes, we have.
And what have you learned?
I'm not going to release that right now. That will come out down the road.
Can you talk about what more serious charges that Courtney may face? I know you don't want to go into what he charged her with last night, but down the road, what should be like?
I'm not going to speculate on that. Again, you can come to your own conclusion. She's driving a car with the individual that shot 2 police officers in cold blood.
Did she assist with Morris's getaway at all?
We have not determined that she did. We're not ruling out that she didn't assist him, but at this time, we can't show that there was any connection after the fact, after she drove off and he ran from the scene. But that's not to say that we can't put that together down the road.
She owned the car? Was it her car?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I know that the registration did not belong to that vehicle, but I don't know the answer to that.
Will you be bringing her back in to question her in the
there's no plans to do that right now, but that's not out of the realm of possibility. And this is a very dynamic investigation, and the investigation proceeds as the information comes in. So I can't say that we're going to go through set steps to a successful conclusion. The information that comes in, we follow it down, and hopefully one of those tips is going to lead us to Dontae Morris.
Are you surprised he's been on the run this long?
Yes, I am surprised that he has been underground for this amount of time, especially with that reward out.
When Toyota fled the scene, were both people in the car?
No.
She left him there.
Mm-hmm.
So he fled that area on foot.
Correct.
Did they get back together after that?
There's nothing to indicate that they did. Again, I can't say that they did not, but we don't have information right now, definitive proof that they reconnected.
See, they talk of the golden hour in trauma. They talk of the golden 48 hours in this kind of scenario. Your thoughts on that?
I've never heard that applied to something like this, to a manhunt. I don't think that there's an amount of time that you can put to that. I mean, obviously, disappearance of children, you have a window of finding them safely with trauma. I've never heard of that in this case. I have no doubt. I'm surprised that it's taken this long, but we're going to be at it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until we take him into custody.
Do you think he might be getting help in that way?
Oh, I'm sure he's getting help.
Was the murder weapon recovered at the scene, or is he still armed with it?
No, it was not recovered at the scene, and that's why we feel that he's still armed and dangerous.
What was found in the car from the case?
I'm not going to release that information.
You said that the investigation stretches beyond even Florida. Can you talk about how far and what other states?
No, I don't want to get into the minute details. What I want to convey to the public and to Dontae Morris is that this area is tightening around him, and his best course of action is to turn himself into the police.
Chief, I know you said that you would understand the public's frustration with having to see Courtney released. Can I just ask you if that was frustrating for you too? You lost 2 officers. She flew away from this scene.
Yes, because it's very emotional. It's a very, we're police officers, but we're still have emotions, and the Tampa Police Department is heartbroken over the deaths of these officers, and we want someone brought to justice for this, and to allow the individual who was driving the car, the shooter. I mean, yes, there's a level of frustration, but we have to go about this procedurally and conduct this investigation as we would all other investigations and try to keep our emotions out of it. And that's what our detectives are doing, and they're doing a damn good job of it.
Chief, your thoughts on the growing memorial downstairs? I don't know if you've been able to see it, but
Yes.
people from all over that don't know these officers maybe at some point had a run-in with an officer, a traffic ticket, but they put all that aside.
Yes. And that's, I tell people often that police officers, we go out and do our jobs every day without any expectation of appreciation. And to see the outpouring of support from the community is overwhelming. And I can tell you that it has moved even the most hardened police officers to tears, just to see that the community supports us so much in this overwhelming time of loss.
Many people in the community have been moved by the fact that these officers had young families. Can you talk about what might be available for people if they want to contribute to those families?
Yes, there's an account in both officers' names at the Tampa Bay Federal Credit Union. So if people felt, the desire to contribute to the families, they could do that.
Chief, I know you said you didn't want to get into all the details here, but even though you haven't found the gun, do you have any idea what kind of weapon he used and how dangerous that might be in his hands as we speak?
The only information I'll give is that it was a handgun.
Was it? Do you know where it came from? Or?
No, we don't have any indications of where it came from. We have the ATF working on weapons searches, both individuals' histories to see what types of weapons may have been in their history. So we're there are just a number of different facets and levels of this investigation, and we're covering every one of those.
And wherever he got it, I guess it's fairly obvious it was illegal in his hands because of physical.
Correct. He's a convicted felon, and that's one of the warrants. That's convicted felon in possession of a firearm.
Mayor, could you talk about just, you know, after you had a day to reflect about this, obviously it's a very difficult day, but as we move forward, you know, how is the city going to assist the Tampa Police Department in setting up funeral arrangements and other things for the family?
Absolutely. First, I want to really give a lot of credit to all the law enforcement officials who are currently working on this investigation. And I wish that every member of the media could be inside the trailers that are set up at the command center so you could really see the kind of first-class, A-plus detective work that is going on to track down the suspect. You'd be very proud. And the way TPD and the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department is working together, the FBI and surrounding law enforcement, everyone is working together. He will be caught, and I have absolutely no doubt about that. Still, it gives you a lot of anxiety, and there's a pit in your stomach that he is still out there. He's obviously very dangerous. He's armed, and until he's caught, we just can't rest, and we can't. It's hard to feel good. You can't feel good about anything until you know that he is behind bars. Secondly, the families. Yesterday, the chief and I think we were both very affected by what we saw with the devastation of the two families. And from what I have heard throughout the community, people feel it. Everyone feels it. They see these two families that have been devastated, and everyone wants to help. The outpouring of grief is just tremendous. Our priority is making sure that the families are completely happy with the way all arrangements are made and that the funerals are done the way that the families want them done. That's very, very important to us. So that's what we're working on. We want to make sure that every memorial service, the funerals, and anything else that goes forward from this point forward is done in coordination and with the agreement of both families. So that's been our priority. Other than that, I just have to say that the outpouring of love and support from the community is something that I've come to, I guess you almost have come to expect it from people of Tampa, because this is how we feel about the people in law enforcement. Many times past, even this morning, a reporter comes up, are you surprised that people are here to place flowers? I'm not, because I've just seen it. I've seen it over my past 7 years, and then even before that, before I was the mayor. People in this community love and respect law enforcement. And I can tell you that every person appears to be deeply affected from the calls I've received, the emails, and the people on the street who come up to me. They come up to me with tears in their eyes. They are affected deeply. And it really speaks to just the kind of community we are. We're very genuine in how we feel about one another, and particularly our officers. This is of great support to our officers. They are grieving. I see it in their eyes. And they are determined to find this suspect. They will find him. There is no doubt in my mind that they will. If they could will it, he'd be behind bars right now. But they will find him because they have the will and the talent combined. So the two combined, they will find him. But they are grieving. And, you know, anything anyone can say to them in a hug and expression of affection, I think, will go a long way with every officer because they're hurting. They're hurting.
We're aware that Jessica Castor is not
Yes.
Can you update us on her condition?
I cannot update you on her condition, and she very much, as you can understand, wants privacy. So it's important that we respect that.
Chief, you mentioned the reward aspect of trying to rally people to help. What about the flip side of that? What would you say to anyone who may be harboring this man?
That we've got a jail cell right next to Mr. Morris. If somebody's harboring him, they're going to face charges.
What do you say to the public with the armed man, dangerous community may be uneasy with? What do you say to them?
Well, I ask for the community's assistance in this. You know, we need to work together to take him into custody and to get him off of the streets of Tampa. So I think that the community has responded outstandingly. They have called in. We have gotten just so many tips of suspicious individuals, and we're checking out every one of those. And it may be, we've seen it time and time again, for any type of large-scale incident throughout the United States, it's usually that person down there on the street that just saw something that seemed unusual, and they called to report it. And that's probably what will bring him in, is a citizen that calls to report something suspicious, and we'll end up taking him into custody.
Money often speaks into some criminal, amount of money or reward.
Correct.
Bring him out. That's obviously.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's our game plan on that.
Mayor, I know the chief has already spoken to this, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this driver being interviewed for 7 hours and then not currently facing any criminal charges.
Well, I probably shouldn't comment on it, because I probably share a view that the public feels. My hat's off to the interrogators. They probably had to show a lot of restraint. So, I know the police department's making all the right decisions because I see it all firsthand. But yes, you can't help but have a problem with it as a person. Everybody does. But when I say that, that's not criticism of the police department. Mm-hmm. What they're doing is absolutely fine. I totally agree with them. Just as a person close to this situation, can't help but get a little bit emotional about it.
Thank you, guys.
That's why I'm not